All right. I guess it's time to kick things off. So hello, my name is Sarah. I'll be emceeing the Fuel events today, so you'll be seeing a bit of me. I just spent the summer interning for Blue Dot Photonics. They're a solar startup, and they were actually an alumni of the Cascadia CleanTech Accelerator program a couple years ago. So I am just starting my first week of work with them as a materials engineer. So that was my quick little intro, and we'll get right into things. So today we're going to hear quick presentations from the current accelerator cohort, so you can learn a bit more about the great work these companies and their technology are doing. So if you stick around all the way to the end, we're going to also hear a special presentation from the Slalom Hackathon winners. So there'll be a bit more about that later. First up, we are going to hear from Vanessa Margolis from Virtue Labs and Rochelle Ames from CleanTech Alliance, who co-run the accelerator program.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Margolis, and I'm the portfolio director at Virtue Lab. As Sarah mentioned, this is a joint program between Virtue Lab and the CleanTech Alliance. The Cascadia CleanTech Accelerator is an 18-week program that runs from May through September, and it's designed to serve early stage. And when we say early stage, we mean pre-seed, seed stage, clean tech startups, typically in the Pacific Northwest, but we do have some flexible borders there. The accelerator offers business training, one-on-one mentoring, showcasing, and the opportunity to network with entrepreneurs and investors in the clean tech space. We work with both software and hardware companies and even have curriculum that's dedicated to manufacturing. The accelerator is one of the programs at Virtue Lab that we offer to support entrepreneurs, along with supporting entrepreneurs as they access federal research and development grants. Also, we place interns at early stage clean tech startups. We spend a lot of time introducing people to investors and doing general advising and coaching throughout the way. So next, I would like to introduce my partner and colleague, my bestie over the summer, Rochelle Ames from CleanTech Alliance.
Hi, everybody. Thank you to Virtue Lab for the time to speak today. And we're so thankful for their partnership and expertise on this program and all of our other collaborations. We really do believe that our strengths as an organization complement each other and really do help out the ecosystem and our startups in this space by working together and collaboratively. So as Vanessa said, and Sarah as well, my name is Rochelle Ames, and I am the Senior Director for Commercialization and Outreach with the CleanTech Alliance. My role includes working on all of our startup and entrepreneurship programs and those collaborations, including, of course, the Cascadia CleanTech Accelerator. Another piece of my role is through our membership and sponsorship development and funding opportunities for the organization as a whole. For those of you that don't know the CleanTech Alliance, we are an industry trade association headquartered in Seattle, Washington, with over 1,000 member companies across 10 US states and 3 Canadian provinces. We have members across all areas of clean tech, from clean energy generation to ag tech, advanced materials, and water remediation, and all around that and in between. We focus on making connections between our members and within our member base, from large industry players to research institutions to our startups and small businesses and service providers within the clean tech ecosystem, specifically in the Northwest region. We do that through events, learning series, networking, commercialization programs like the Accelerator, and policy work. Our team encouraged me to share our events calendar. We have launched our fall events, and we have a lot going on. Unfortunately, all virtual, but hopefully that means that a lot more folks will be able to join us as we dive into those events and programs. So I'll include that here shortly. I'll also include my email and LinkedIn in the chat as well for anyone that would like to connect. Thank you again for Virtue Lab for hosting, and I'm excited for you all to meet our 2021 Cascadia CleanTech Accelerator cohort companies.
Awesome. Thank you, ladies. So we are going to go ahead and get into the part of this event that everyone is ready and excited for, the company presentation. So if you have any questions while these videos are going, go ahead and drop them in the Q&A box, and they'll be read through at the end of the video. So with that, the first company we're going to be hearing from is EvTech.
Hello, everyone. My name is Martin Arrow, co-founder and CEO of EvTech. I would like to welcome everyone to EvTech's headquarters, New Lab, located within the Brooklyn Navy Yard. New Lab is one of the world's top innovation hubs where emerging technologies are created every single day. For the past year, our team has been working on an innovative AI vision system that allows consumers to directly connect with their recycling actions. We are deploying this technology inside of specialized recycling centers, allowing them to increase their overall processing rates and be able to pass along rewards directly to the consumers that have downloaded EvTech's mobile application. With the help from the New Lab community, we are making this dream turn into reality, and in turn, saving the world. It is no secret that today recycling is broken. The United States alone buries, burns, and pollutes tens of billions of dollars of our recyclables every year. Our passionate team has collectively spent decades studying why recycling is ineffective. Recycling systems without incentive-based programs result in high contamination rates and low values for recycled materials. We are revolutionizing the recycling industry with our software platform that connects mobile app consumers to EvTech's AI vision-powered recycling centers. The EvTech mobile app provides consumers with convenient pickup and drop-off services, instant digital payment, and individualized recycling insights. Our enterprise software enables recycling centers to access our expanding network of consumers and efficiently processes their materials using our AI vision system. We have launched our system with refundable beverage containers, as they are a large contributor to global pollution, have a significant CO2 impact when not recycled, and can easily re-enter the circular economy without being downcycled. By receiving a percentage from every container that is recycled with our technology, we've identified an $11 billion serviceable market within North America. We are expanding our market footprint through partnerships with equipment integrators to install our AI vision systems into redemption centers. With a customer acquisition cost averaged around $2 a person, we anticipate onboarding 100,000 users within the next 18 months across the Northeast. In the past year alone, we've completed a field-tested prototype, had multiple recycling centers agree to our financing terms, helped our consumers avoid over 500,000 pounds of CO2 emissions, generated $140,000 in revenue. If you're serious about investing in the circular economy, look no further, because we're turning trash into cash. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. So in a second, I'm going to have Martin here from EvTech join me. Hi.
Hey, Sarah. How are you?
Good, you?
I'm doing well.
Awesome. So we have a question here for you. How is your company reaching new customers, and what does the onboarding process look like?
Absolutely. And before I answer that, I would just like to give a shout out to Rochelle and Vanessa for really being helpful over the past couple of months. The Cascadia Accelerator has been incredible. So very happy to be with everyone today. And to answer that question, we've currently interviewed over 20 different redemption centers that would specifically be interested in our technology. And we've identified that they have two problems in common: that they cannot process material quick enough, and they're looking to increase their consumer base. So what we've done is we're in the process of receiving feedback on our sales catalog that highlights our patentable AI technology. It's a machine learning vision system partnered with a hardware conveyor belt that simply counts these bottles and cans, and it solves their two issues. And we've created a sales catalog to highlight how our technology solves their problems. So we've identified 100 qualified redemption centers in New York State that we're looking to send the catalog to, and are in the process of scheduling meetings to meet with them in person. We already have one of the largest and most influential redemption centers here in New York have agreed to lease our technology and pay us a percentage of every item that we process through our technology. And really what we're looking to do is within the next 4 months here is raise around $1.5 million, which would allow us to deploy 29 of these machine learning counting machines across New York by the end of 2023. And with these machines out in the field, we anticipate being able to process around 228 million containers, which would generate about $15.4 million in revenue by end of 2023. And that's how we're looking to expand across our first beachhead.
Very exciting. Thank you. All right. And just a quick note, for those of you dropping questions in the chat, if you can go ahead and direct those to the Q&A box, that way our accelerator members can go ahead and scroll through after their presentations and answer those for you. So next up, we are going to go ahead and hear from IO Airflow.
Hi, my name is Matt Scobrook, CEO of IO Airflow. Commercial building owners and property managers are facing a dual crisis. Many of their spaces are consuming more energy than they should and generating unhealthy environments for their occupants, including an increased risk of airborne infectious disease transmission. At IO Airflow, we're helping to solve this through our data intelligence platform that helps commercial buildings improve their internal environments. The value we provide is helping find solutions to decrease energy consumption and operating costs, increase health outcomes for occupants, and finding ways to decrease the risk of airborne infectious disease transmission, including COVID-19. Our process is simple. We place sensors throughout a building that collects data we need to perform a sophisticated and robust analysis of that space. What problems exist, where they exist, the impact they're having, and how they can be resolved. We present that information in a client report that is easy to read, visual, and focuses on a concrete action plan and recommendations with next steps and the benefits of immediate action. We have a unique value that is going to allow us to scale quickly in this market. First, our sensors don't need to be permanently installed, meaning our clients can access the benefits of building monitoring technology without a bill for tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars that is common with permanent solutions. Because we're temporarily placing sensors, we can customize the data we're collecting based on our clients' priorities, be that energy efficiency, cost savings, or more. Finally, our data-driven automation solution allows us to generate outcomes in minutes rather than weeks or months it might take for a manual energy audit. This is a massive market, and IO Airflow is focused on commercial buildings built before the year 1990, who are typically the worst offenders per capita on energy consumption and poor environmental conditions. We believe this is an over $4 billion market at scale. We're going to get there starting by working with commercial building owners and property managers who have portfolios within this demographic, as well as energy auditors who provide regular service and benchmarking results for buildings in this space. There are many other verticals that we're excited to enter, but we believe this is our first point of highly scalable market growth opportunity. We're already gaining traction in this space, having already worked with many of Canada's largest commercial property management companies and energy auditors, ensuring that our solution has been vetted and market tested. We have a strong team with over 3 decades experience in this space, in particular from an industry expertise and data intelligence side. We're working with many of Canada's largest post-secondary programs and have already secured over $500,000 in non-dilutive grant financing.
Great, thank you. So welcome, Matt.
Hello, Sarah.
Okay, so a quick question for you. What more can you tell us about those sensors that you place in buildings? Are they proprietary technology? What exactly are they monitoring?
Yeah, that's a great question. So IO Airflow, we're a data company first, and the sensors that we're using is really an off-the-shelf solution. The benefit of that is that we can actually customize the data and that is being collected on site. So different sensor variables can measure things like temperature, humidity, air pressure, CO2, particulate matters of varying degrees, volatile organic compounds, luminosity, acoustics. The options are virtually endless, and all we need to do is make sure that the data that's being collected is being effectively used in our portal. So the reason that we set it up this way is that we believe pretty strongly that the market's going to catch up on non-permanent Internet of Things technology. And when it does, we'll be able to divest ourselves of this hardware space and focus on what we do best, which is that data intelligence platform.
Thank you. All right. Next up, we have a video from Propel Electric Boat Motors.
I'm Linda Grez, co-founder of Propel Electric Boat Motors. We design and manufacture EP Carry, the lightest portable electric outboard for small boats. We're lifelong boaters. Back in 2008, as part of a state registration process, my partner Joe Grez had to place a mandatory carbon monoxide warning sticker on our little family boat, a gas-powered runabout. He knew that young children like our daughter were especially susceptible to toxic carbon monoxide gases, so we converted to electric. Amazed at how much more enjoyable it was without a gas motor, Joe realized that there were other benefits of green powering too. Lower maintenance, no greasy stains, no smoke, no stalling or hard starting, and no gas fumes. And conversation could continue while underway. The experience was so powerful, and Joe, being an experienced innovation team leader and physicist, put an equally experienced team together to create the breakthrough and award-winning marine product, EP Carry. Propel's EP Carry outboard is half the weight. That alone is expanding the potential market as it motivates women to purchase their first outboard motor. It's quiet, highly efficient, and easier to handle and operate, even with smaller, unstable boats. Its patented and unique ergonomic and functional features set it apart from the competition. Selling direct and through dealers, we're ready to expand our distribution nationally and then expand to other portable segments that serve up to 40% of all boaters. Our product platform is scalable to support expansion, ultimately serving the entire range of portable applications. Customer surveys confirm that weight is the primary deciding factor. We've found that the lightweight EP Carry succeeds in dislodging even the worst polluting two-stroke gas motors as well as newer, heavier four-strokes. While the rest of the industry focuses on much larger motors, EP Carry's distinctiveness has actually expanded regional industry sales rates. Meet our marketing team. Hundreds of customers enthusiastically recommend EP Carry to their fellow boaters. They are creating growth at increasing rates. So as with electric cars and e-bikes, e-boating is beginning to tip. Propel is ready to replicate our regional sales traction nationwide, using tooling and inventory investment to lower the cost of goods. In addition, we're ready to drive the solar revolution with plug-and-play packages that reduce or eliminate the need to plug in. Propel is ready to truly own the small boat motor segment. Let's give the marine ecosystem an upgrade to cleaner air, water, and natural habitats.
All right, so I have with me Joe Grez from Propel. So a couple questions for you. First of all, is your target audience the small boating families like your own that already might be climate conscious or more traditional fishing families? And then if it's the latter, how do you plan on reaching this audience that may not understand the need to switch to electric?
Thanks for the question, Sarah. We have, if you remember back to the video, you'll see that most of the messaging is around usability. It's around improvements in weight, ease of use, speed and performance. So already we're positioned to leverage the things that people care about, that they make decisions, purchase decisions based on. Now, that being said, what we recognize is that while we're talking about small engines, and they use very little gas, so they produce very little carbon, only 7,000 cars or so worth of carbon nationally each year. But the real issue is that 40% of these motors are two strokes. So the two-stroke technology is an old technology that has now been replaced with four strokes because four-stroke engine technology is cleaner. These two strokes, however, are so populous still out there. They're introducing 8,400 gallons of gasoline in Washington state waters alone, and over 400,000 gallons of unburnt gasoline in our national waters. So that's the real goal that we have at Propel is our desire to get rid of gas on the water. But our messaging is very much about the utility. So currently, to answer your question, the markets that we're serving currently are both in the fishing and the small boat market, small marine market. So we're serving people that have dinghies and they have larger boats, and the dinghies take their dog to shore. And so we're providing power for those dinghies, but we're also, and this is really interesting, we're doing OEM deals with fishing kayak manufacturers. Now, you wouldn't think that changing people from pedaling to electric powering is very green, until you realize that all of these fishermen also have bass boats at home. And these bass boats have 100 horsepower outboards, 200 horsepower outboards. And these people with EP carry on their kayaks are opting to take the kayak out instead of the bass boat. So, you know, there's reasons for adoption for both of those segments.
Great, thank you. So Tina was wondering, how long does the battery last on a single charge?
Great question. So we have a couple different battery choices now. The standard product is a 20-pound package, so 14 pounds for the motor and 6 pounds for the battery. And at full speed, which is 4 knots, you know, hull speed on most small boats like this, you have 70 minutes of runtime. So your range is typically, you know, 3.5 to 4.5 nautical miles at full power. Half power, you get twice the runtime. So then you can expand your range.
Gotcha. From America, when this idea came up and you wanted to bring it to life, what were your principles to build a strong team to make this idea possible?
Oh, I'm very lucky. So I spent my career doing consumer product development. So you know, I was motivated by a carbon monoxide sticker that I had to place on my boat. Came from the state when I did my registration to do electric. And then, you know, being a consumer product developer, I thought, wow, there's, you know, this is so much more fun than using gas. You know, I'd like to share it. And so that's kind of how we got into the business. And that's the main motivating factor behind it. I'm not sure if I answered the question properly. Oh, the team. Yeah. So being an innovator in consumer product developer in space, I had access to the best team already, you know, people that I've worked with for the past, you know, 15, 20 years. So, you know, we've got specialists in software, firmware, in electronics, layout, mechanical, we have supply chain experts, we have operations experts, they're all attached to the company. And these are people that I already know. So they just jumped on, it was like a barn raising, and we launched the EP carry. Very
cool. All right, and one more question for you. Tom would like to know, how will you maintain your competitive advantage as large established outboard manufacturers expand into the lightweight electric motor space?
Yeah, that was a setup for me. So our product is uniquely efficient. It's about twice the efficiency of the most efficient competing product out there right now. And we patented how we've done it, which is we have a high aspect ratio propeller and a water lubricated gear module that provides that efficiency edge. And so in order to compete with us, they're going to have to come up with another way of doing the same thing that we have, but we have the patent. And yeah, and that provides unique, you know, positive opportunities for acquirers. You know, they'll be able to access the same performance in terms of speed and range using half the battery. So the battery cost will be cut in half, and that's, as everybody knows, is one of the highest costs for electric propulsion.
Great, thank you so much.
Thanks for the questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And sorry to the previous 2 companies. I didn't realize you couldn't see the questions after the fact and answer them. So next up, we are going to hear from Sharper Solutions.
Hi, I'm Steve Katz. I'm the CEO of Sharper Informatics Solutions, where we try to help our clients get more value from their data. Energy producers in the state of California are highly motivated to improve energy efficiency and lower energy demand. And those motivations are so strong that for nearly half a century, per capita energy consumption in California has been steady, while the rest of the United States has gone up to almost twice the energy intensity seen in California. And if you're one of those energy providers, you need approvals from the California Public Utilities Commission in order for the state to approve and ultimately fund those energy efficiency programs. And it turns out there's a major bottleneck to getting these approvals and the funding. And it's simply the process of moving program data in these proposals through the state's arcane and complex data systems. This is a task that should take minutes that has turned into days, resulting in lost time, lost money, and a very high level of frustration among users. So who's having this problem? Well, they range from a few large utilities like Southern California Edison or Pacific Gas and Electric to regional energy networks and community scale energy aggregators, down to local municipalities and even energy entrepreneurs in what is called a group of third-party implementers. In addition to being diverse, it's also worth knowing that the composition of the market is about to change in a big way. State regulators commit that of the $1 billion per year in funding for these programs, 60% of it must go to these smaller third-party implementers starting in 2022. And as a result, the number of people hitting this data bottleneck is expected to increase dramatically starting this year and going forward. In response, we built My Data Chameleon. My Data Chameleon is a web-based data management application. This is just a screenshot of our homepage for the product. My Data Chameleon starts by solving the data portability problem. It brings in any data file type currently in use, and we can convert that to a file that will work with the state systems. In addition, the complexity of the current data systems means there's lots of ways that people can construct programs and proposals that are internally inconsistent. My Data Chameleon leverages our extensive experience with current systems to include a number of smart features to correct data, as well as an intuitive and easy to use manual interface for data correction. And together, these guarantee that a compatibility with the CPUC's data systems for submitted proposals. We've taken a job that should have taken minutes, but which complexity in regulatory systems may take days, and turned it back into minutes for our customers. I'd love to talk to anyone who has interest in My Data Chameleon or any of the other data products that we can provide our customers. And if there's interest, please get in touch and we'd be happy to talk. Thanks for your attention.
Great, thank you. So we're going to go ahead and bring in Steve from Sharper Solutions. Welcome. So to kick things off, what is your background in this market and how did you discover this bottleneck between energy providers and regulators?
Yeah, sure. Hi. So a couple things right off the bat. Just for completeness' sake, it's Sharper Informatics Solutions. But in addition, I'd like to echo, before I begin, I'd like to echo something Martin said earlier and just say thanks to the organizers of the Accelerator as well as the conference for this opportunity. It's been a lot of work, but it's been really a lot of help, and we all appreciate it very, very much. Okay, so the background and the bottleneck. The background is my partner in this endeavor is Jennifer Chirell. She's the Chief Technical Officer. I'm Steve Katz. I'm the Executive Officer, and we've been friends for a long time. And in fact, about a dozen years ago, I was working at the National Oceanographic Atmospheric Administration and needed someone to help me with a data project, a data management project, and I contracted with Jen to do that. And in order to make that happen, Jen spun up a small consulting business, which once my project was completed, she leveraged to develop relationships and contracts with the California Public Utilities Commission to manage their data, their online data platforms and data management for the energy efficiency programs across the whole state of California. And in that role, Jen's had an opportunity to sort of monitor and have people run into the bottleneck and then seek help from the managers of that system. And so we've had about 8 to 10 years of monitoring data on who's having problems, when they're having problems, how many problems they're having. We've got a number of logs showing people trying to push their proposals through the system at 1 o'clock, at 1:15, at 1:35, and on and on and on, hour after hour, and indeed, in several cases, day after day. And so we've had an opportunity to kind of monitor how this system has been going as Jen has been working sort of behind the scenes to maintain all these systems. And what motivated us was the idea that we could automate some of that and help solve this problem, which originally was a product of the state having engaged different consultants to solve a particular piece of the problem, without ever guaranteeing that the whole system would talk to each other all the way down the line, the throughput. So what we've been doing is trying to create a piece of software that would help people avoid the potholes and bottlenecks in the system that we've had a chance to watch people bang their heads against for the better part of a decade.
Cool, thank you. So Chris in the audience wanted to know how this is different from Share My Data.
The principle, I confess that my familiarity with Share My Data is pretty low, but I will tell you that I can almost, well, I can't guarantee, but I can say with high probability of certainty that much of what we are doing leverages a specific understanding of the data requirements and the rather complicated and in many cases sort of legacy data that isn't necessarily used by the California Public Utilities Commission, but data which is requested in very specific formats. And so there is a data structure familiarity issue with respect to this particular regulatory process. And perhaps it's worth pointing out that what we're talking about here is the process where all of these utilities are getting funding from the state to implement relatively large scale energy efficiency programs. This is not residential or single property development. This is for relatively large program administrators in the state. And so one of the key things is they all have to get an evaluation of cost effectiveness for their programs. They have to submit data, it has to be judged as cost effective, and then the state, once it's approved, they will provide that funding to the tune of $100 million. These are $100 million portfolios of programs. And so the complexity of the data is quite large. And then the other issue is there are a number of ways in which data can be constructed, that proposals can be constructed, that you have combinations of things you're going to do to change gas consumption versus electricity consumption. There are a number of ways in which you can construct a proposal which are internally inconsistent. And so part of what we do is go in knowing some of those issues related to the specific programs we're talking about and have a little bit of smarts built into the data system so that people don't combine gas with electricity with other issues where they would be otherwise incompatible and rejected by the state process. So the principal uniqueness of our endeavor is indeed this familiarity with the arcane nature of the state system.
Awesome. So it looks like that is it from the audience at this point. So thank you again, Steve. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce SolarXworks. They are going to share their video right now.
Hi, I'm Blake, one of the founders of SolarXworks. Let me introduce you to Jane. Jane's berry operation produces thousands of pounds of strawberries per year, but Jane has a problem. It is hot outside. Her strawberries are rotting before she can get them to market. Jane is losing money, a lot of it. In an increasingly unpredictable global climate environment, people need temperature-controlled spaces. Perishables like medications and food need to be kept cool. SolarX makes this happen with a sophisticated yet simple pre-cooling system. In the USA, billions of dollars of produce are either thrown out or rapidly lose market value due to a lack of in-field pre-cooling and adequate refrigeration. In 2019, 2.5 billion pounds of strawberries valued over $3 billion were harvested in California alone. Reports indicate that the value lost due to poor cooling is over $300 million per year. Delays in cooling of 2 to 8 hours reduce marketability by 20 to 70%. Companies like Driscoll's, Valley View, and Stemilt experience direct economic loss due to the first-mile challenges. In-field refrigeration or first-mile cooling is expensive, can be difficult to deploy, and legacy solutions are not environmentally friendly. Further, yield loss contributes to inefficient use of Earth's resources. That is why we are bringing mobile, off-grid cooling solutions into the field where the power grid may not be accessible or stable, and other solutions may not be allowed or are too expensive to operate consistently. Solar XWorks XCold is a patented mobile, flexible, solar-capable pre-cooling system. It is easy to move from site to site, simple to set up, and incredibly flexible. With the XCold, refrigeration can follow the harvest and cool just about any space, from walk-in coolers to shipping containers to root cellars. While we prioritize solar power, our solution is designed to accept many different power sources to keep your perishables cold. And the XCold is simply more efficient than competitive solutions. We use 6 300-watt solar panels to run the cooling unit and recharge the internal battery, while our competitors use up to 32 panels for the same output. Our prototype has a great deal of customer interest from companies like Milk Run, Honey Mamas, and large-scale ag producers seeking in-field solutions. We are ready to take the Solar XWorks XCold to the next level. Partner with us to help create the next generation sustainable cold chain. We are harvesting the sun to refrigerate the world.
All right, thank you. So welcome, Blake.
Hi. Good.
All right, so our first question is, who do you see as your biggest customers? Are you thinking more small businesses like Milk Run or larger corporations like Driscoll's?
Sarah, that is a great question. Before I answer that question, though, I also, like others, want to say thank you to everyone involved. This has been an amazing journey, and we have appreciated all the input and guidance that we've received throughout this process. But to answer your question, the simple answer is yes, all of the above. But to contextualize that just a bit, we are targeting small to medium producers initially, as we seek to gain additional market experience and continue to demonstrate our value in the industry. However, we believe that we can expand to support larger producers like Driscoll's as we continue to mature. And part of that question was there anything else?
Yeah, so in the case of as you move into medium and larger size businesses, how can your product meet their needs?
Yeah, so that's also interesting. One of the data points, if you would like to call it that we received from a core partner to Driscoll's was, I think, telling. The question was, how critical is in-field cooling to an organization like Driscoll's? And the response was, it is their primary logistical constraint. Once they pick berries, they have a ticking clock and about 3 hours to get them down to temperature, or else they suffer a noticeable quality drop, which really equates to loss of value. And as an organization sees that loss of value, they see the loss of potential revenue. A solution like ours that can follow the harvest, can operate off-grid, and has the capacity to be augmented by other power sources through our proprietary control system, can help them avoid that value loss.
Great, thank you. It looks like that is it for questions at this point. Oh, just kidding, there's one more. So usually people tend to build greenhouses to bring warmth to agriculture. This is an interesting perspective. How do you all keep the balance between both temperatures? Is there a sweet spot to keep, or do you alternate between, I'm assuming, hotter and colder?
Our solution is specifically focused on bringing produce and other perishables down to temperature to maintain the integrity of those perishables, like strawberries. It's intended to be a highly mobile first mile refrigeration solution. The technology that we developed can be reversed and blow warm air, but our focus specifically is on maintaining cooler temperatures. Just for sake of clarity, the lowest temperature that we've achieved thus far is 16 degrees below, 16 degrees Fahrenheit.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much, Steve. I'm so sorry, Blake. All right. So with that, thanks to all of the participants in this year's accelerator program. And if anyone would like to get into contact with these companies, they can be found under the exhibitions tab in your menu. You could also use the chat while this event is still open. So I am thrilled to introduce Heather Anderson, who is a Virtue Labs board member and who's going to talk a little bit about the Slalom Hackathon.
Hi, Heather. We can see you.
Okay, great. Hi, guys. Hello, my name is Heather Anderson, and I'm proud to serve in my 3rd year on the Virtue Lab board. Today, I have the opportunity to introduce our sponsor, Slalom, and their ESG consulting practice. Slalom is a global consulting firm focused on strategy, technology, and business transformation. They have over 10,000 consultants across the globe that help their clients tackle the most ambitious projects. And they also seek to help solve the world's most challenging problems, including climate change. Today, we're thrilled to be joined by Susan Keniston, who is the Global Director of Slalom's ESG portfolio of offerings. Susan has offered to share some of her insights and trends regarding their journey with us today. So Susan, over to you.
It looks like we're having some technical difficulties. Just one moment as we bring Susan online. Here she is. Susan, we can hear you. If you want to speak, I will spotlight you.
Hi there, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm having a little bit of audio issues. Thank you so much, Heather, for the introduction. I really appreciate that. And nice to meet everybody. And thank you so much, Virtue Lab. I'm going to go ahead and, my name is Susan Keniston. I lead our global ESG practice for Slalom. Been with Slalom for 12 years and been doing sustainability with Slalom, supporting our clients for the last 10 years. And I thought it would be helpful to just share some of the trends and patterns that we're seeing with our clients right now over the last decade, and especially kind of what is accelerating over the last 6 to 12 months, especially. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, a little bit of something to walk through. Let's see if I can make that work. Can you see what I'm sharing?
No, we cannot. Oh, here it is.
There we go. How is that?
Perfect.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, so really, I think that everybody has been hearing about kind of the shifting customer expectations in terms of really requiring it and really kind of demanding almost now insight into where companies are at with their actions around their own behaviors and responding to climate action, the climate crisis. And so really just in terms of that insight and really looking for trusted data to show the credibility of what the company's behaviors are. The way that we have been working with clients and kind of hearing where they're at is along these 4 areas. And especially with the last year, there's this urgency into this kind of this next normal. The way we talk with them is really where are they at in terms of moving to this next normal, of kind of responding to climate change around over on the right-hand side. I'm going to start with that because that's where a lot of companies start, is risk management, and transparency, and really the readiness and awareness of what the risks and opportunities are, getting costs down, as well as kind of waste down. Revenue, are they looking at new operating models and new sustainable products and services? And then just brand, how are they responding to all of their stakeholders? And so I just want to walk through each one of those and talk a little bit about what we're seeing in terms of some of the, what we've traditionally seen over the last 10 years and what we're really starting to see right now as companies transition into this next normal. I'm going to go ahead and start over on the right again. Reporting in terms of enterprise resilience, reporting has always been done by some of the leaders in sustainability, but now it really truly is table stakes. So in terms of transparency of where companies are at, and that's being called for from all the different stakeholders, whether it's investors or customers, suppliers. And so you're seeing that from everybody now. What you're also seeing, though, is a lot more call to action around traceability. So that lineage of the data, lineage of the products and services, from raw materials out. You're also seeing many of them now move into advanced analytics, much more economic modeling for what it means to the business in terms of risks, and then really integrating this into their strategic planning more than ever before. So what does that mean? So you're seeing companies ask for portfolio impact tracking, and so that's how they're doing not only on impact areas, but the portfolio of efforts that they're putting together to get in front of and improve some of their footprints. More advanced modeling, data. It's all about data and all about data connections, and not just internally in the company and systems, but as you've been talking about over the last several days, connections with outside sources and applications as well. It's one of the biggest areas that we're seeing right now, is that connectivity of data across the ecosystems. And then a cultural change. There's just a lot of awareness of what this means, from the executive leadership down to what does it mean to a person in their role in the business and what their contribution is. And so lots of interesting changes showing up just on the risk resilience management. In sustainable operations, you're seeing continued optimization across the value chain for cost and efficiencies, but much more accountability in functions of their areas, whether it be in the supply chain operations, procurement, product design and development. And so true accountability about making a difference. And leaders are learning how to do that and what that accountability looks like. The other big thing that we're seeing there is now, it is required to kind of be accountable for your extended supply chain. So you're seeing this responsible supplier expectations from companies as well. They're working really hard to train their suppliers on what they now expect out of them as well. And so you're seeing federated stewardship show up. You're seeing a lot of digitization analytics in the value chain. And then again, kind of these responsible supplier programs are one of the things that we're seeing the most requested actually from our clients right now. Those two pillars on the right have been, I would say, kind of the mainstay of what we've seen from our clients over the last 10 years. They're definitely advancing and maturing. What we're really seeing now is the shift to these two pillars on the left, around brand and around sustainable products and services. Really exciting. And so you're seeing, a lot of companies now where they were working on more material development, things like packaging and new material sources as kind of their baseline of improvements in products and services over the last 10 years, they're standing back and they're revisiting all the products and services. And and end to end, and really thinking about what is it that they want to be known for and do. You're also seeing circular economy as one of the top areas where companies are looking at, and really looking at waste as a strategic advantage, and then just around the urgency of looking at growth models. Every company is looking at what is their growth model, what does it mean, what should we be doing, and that shows up in things like sustainability as a service. Almost everybody we're working with is looking at commercializing aspects of their products and services in new ways that include sustainability as part of that. And then finally, over in the brand and reputation, I love kind of wrapping up with this one because it's probably the one that's going through the biggest change right now. And so where, what our clients used to be very watchful of stakeholders like investors and some customers, they're really shifting to what does the customer want? What are they asking for? And not just that, but what do employees want? And so they're much more watchful of what this is showing up as for employee recruitment, employee retention. And then finally, the last one that's really interesting is community resilience. So the stakeholder focus has shifted enormously, I would say, over the last 5 years to being core to the sustainability strategy for some of these folks. So you're seeing things like human planet-centered design around the UX CX. You're seeing end-to-end employee experience begin to thread in what does it mean for their experience to work in a sustainable company, and then just this expanded community impact. Really, really great. And then kind of across it all, you're seeing something called drop the walls, which means that folks are partnering in non-traditional ways, like they've never partnered before. And that's probably the most exciting thing, is everybody's working together in new ways to find impact. Those are just some of the things that we're seeing. And these are our offerings of how we're responding to some of that. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it back to Heather to introduce our Hack for Climate Solutions. Thanks so much.
Great. Thank you, Susan. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. It's actually really interesting to see the progression of where clients are moving from and towards. It's certainly come a long way in the last number of years. So thank you for sharing how you're focusing your practice around what corporate customers are asking for these days. Next, I'd like to introduce a really inspiring program that the Slalom and Slalom Build teams have participated in over the past year, and it's called the Global Slalom Hack for Climate Solutions. So Slalom and Slalom Build hackathons inspire action and collaboration across their teams and geographies. They aim to do better, do more, and improve the lives of real people around the globe. Their long-form hackathons span 5 months, so the teams have the ability to bring the best thinking and really try and make an impact on the topic that they're focusing on. This year, the Global Hackathon team was 100% dedicated to exploring the impacts we have on environmental sustainability. The Hack for Climate Solutions had 21 participating teams across 4 countries and over 150 hackers themselves. I had the opportunity to judge this group of solution providers across the slalom globe, and I was overwhelmed by the energy, the determination, and the passion that all these employees had as they volunteered their time to come up with creative and innovative solutions to helping tackle the climate crisis that we have and come up with additional solutions based on all of their team's experiences. So I would like to introduce the winner of our first ever Fuel and Virtue Lab Virtue Award, and that would be to Rob Ferris of Slalom, who created with his team the solution called Methbusters. So we're so proud of you, Rob, and over to you to learn more about what your team was able to come up with.
Awesome, thank you, Heather. Can you see me and hear me?
We can hear you. You will want to pull up your presentation. We're seeing your web browser.
Okay, I'm trying to do that. Hold on. Yeah, it's not showing my PowerPoint as an option. Let me switch to that. Can you see this now? When I was on it, could you see it?
We are not. We cannot see it.
Okay, let me try again. Oh, there it is. Okay. It wasn't showing as one of the options. Okay. Can you hear me and see what I'm showing?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. All right. So as Heather just described, within Slalom, every year we have a hackathon and pick a topic of interest to people. This year, the topic was all around climate solutions. So what our team did was thought about the problem of methane leaks and how we could address that. So what is the problem with methane leaks? In climate change discussions, CO2 gets the vast majority of the attention, and it should, because it is the largest contributor to climate change. The second largest contributor to climate change is methane, which is another greenhouse gas. It is actually 86 times more potent than CO2 in a 20-year period, which means that for each cubic foot of methane that's in the atmosphere, it creates 86 times more warming. And so that's the bad news. The good news is the sources of methane are very well understood. And they're also limited to certain industries and industry activities, such as what you see on the top right there, natural gas and petroleum related industries, enteric fermentation, that's talking about cows, and the methane that they produce. Landfills are also a source. So as garbage that's in a landfill starts to decompose, one of the outputs of that is methane. Manure also from cows and livestock, and coal mining. So given that the actual sources of methane are targeted to certain industries, so it's not like CO2, which comes from every car driving down the street, and other sources. We know where methane's coming from, and so the UN has said in multiple reports, and even in the most recent report, that methane mitigation is the single strongest lever we have now to slow climate change. So it's something that we as a society can take action on, and we know where to take action. So for our purposes of our hackathon, we focus specifically on the methane problem in the oil and gas industry. So when I talk about some of the challenges here in a minute, it's mostly talking about the oil and gas industry. Similar concepts could be applied to other industries like landfills or agriculture. So in the oil and gas industry, what you find is the kind of state of the art within most companies within oil and gas industry is this one that I'm highlighting here on the lower right, with the picture of the person with the camera. That is what's called an optical gas imaging camera. And the EPA requires oil and natural gas producers to inspect their equipment twice a year. And if they find problems, they have to inspect it 4 times a year. So the problem is it's not consistent, right? So the thing could be leaking for 5 months out of the year, and then on the day that it's inspected, maybe it's okay for some reason. And so you're missing out on all the leakage that is occurring in between time. What's good about it is it does give you very targeted information about where the leaks are occurring. So it's actionable. You can go fix the thing that's causing the leak. Another method that is being used, and this is actually very recent, where companies and nonprofits have started doing things like flying planes over oil fields and natural gas drilling fields. And they can see with sensors on the planes that there in certain areas there's a lot of methane in the atmosphere. So it's been very instructive to the industry, because what they've learned is that there's actually way more methane leaking than they originally thought. So what's great about this is it's really shown a spotlight on how big the problem is. There's also satellites that are doing similar things, and I was just reading about a satellite that's going up real soon that's going to have even more global coverage, and so just better information about the general places where leaks are occurring. The problem with both of these is they're not 24/7, and so therefore they're missing out on a lot of situations that are occurring. So what we did for our hackathon solution was we came up with an idea where what if you used IoT sensors and you place those throughout these drilling fields on various pieces of equipment. So think like a tank that's storing natural gas or methane. Think like a pipe. Think like the drilling rig itself. And so if you had these sensors out there, low-cost sensors, kind of ubiquitously, monitoring methane concentrations in the air. First of all, you can use that to pinpoint, exactly when a leak is occurring and like on what piece of equipment it's occurring. Then we also integrated operational data. So like what was happening with that equipment when this leak was occurring. So like, I'll just use the tank example. Was the tank, very full? Was it under high pressure? Things like that. So that's operational data. And then also data about the equipment or the assets themselves. So like, how old is that tank? Who manufactured it? When was it installed? When was it last repaired? So all of that data about the assets themselves, combined with the current state of operations, combined with the IoT sensor data, can give you a really good picture of what equipment's leaking, and when, and and help you start to think about the why. So why is it leaking? Oh well, we noticed that when it's a tank manufactured by this company and it's greater than 10 years old and it's operating at full capacity, those tanks tend to leak. So that's a combination of all these different variables. And then additionally, what we showed with this hackathon solution was you could take all that historical data and run machine learning models against that and determine those patterns of that lead to leaks. And therefore, not only can you identify a leak and send somebody out to fix it, you can actually predict where the next leak is going to occur and send somebody out to fix it in advance. So that's essentially what the industry calls predictive maintenance. It's applied to lots of different mechanical equipment across lots of different industries. So what we did was envision this, put it together, and then created some dashboards where you can get an idea of the kind of thing that we're expecting if this was to actually be implemented in a real company. And so what that looks like is something like this. So you could have a dashboard that has a GIS presentation. So where are the hot spots? So the things that are red on this map here. You could click on those things and learn about the equipment and see some of its operating information and asset information. You could select filters, like select all the ones that are greater than 10 years old or from certain manufacturers. You could see which type of equipment is leaking the most. I've been using a tank example. So like on this chart here, you can see, oh yeah, we're having problems with tanks more than other types of equipment. You can see like how things are trending over time, day of week and day of month and things like that, or hour of the day. You could also then create charts that show correlation to particular variables, like so how does wind direction or wind speed or the not the operational temperature but the ambient temperature, do these things leak more when it's really cold out, as an example? So you can pull together all these different data sources from both the sensors, the operational data, and the asset data to create visualizations like this, and really help people to get much more proactive at managing this methane problem, which, as we learned, is very bad, but fixable. One of the quotes that we ran across in our research in this is, they said, think of this as like a plumbing problem. We know how to fix plumbing problems. We just don't know how to identify them very well. And so this solution is essentially all about identifying them so that companies that operate this type of equipment can proactively mitigate it, basically. So I'm going to wrap up there. If you or your companies that you work with are interested in learning more about any of Slalom's ESG services that Susan discussed, or about companies that are dealing with this methane issue, or really any other general environmental monitoring. So if you can imagine, like what I just described for the methane solution, that could be applied to monitoring pollution in your city, or monitoring pollution in your waterways. So there's a lot of applications of the general concept that I just shared here, but for purposes of this, we decided to pick one specific and important business case or use case to direct our efforts for the hackathon. So anyway, I'd like to thank VirtuLab for giving us this opportunity to talk about what we're doing here at Slalom, and I'll pass it back to Sarah.
Thanks so much, Rob. So thank you to Slalom for sharing what you do, and to Mathbusters, congratulations on winning this year's hackathon. That's very exciting. So we're going to take a break for about an hour now. Feel free to use this time to connect with people that you've met here, pick the brains of some of the companies in the accelerator program. You can scroll through the attendees panel and schedule a meeting or message whoever you want to speak to, or you can shoot them an email or use the chat. So we will see you back here at 1 for our solutionary showcase, where you will hear from 2 of the 3 companies that VirtuLabs has invested in from their Climate Impact Fund, and another 3 up-and-coming climate startups. Thanks again.